at what part of the story. I think to begin, because of I'm really interested in what you went through with the NFL. We're going to cover a lot of ground here today.
I mean, let me tell you, there's a ton to cover. Really, I mean, if you want to go into the brain recovery, the NFL battle,
Yeah, I do. I do.
workforce battle, the cognitive, I mean,
Yeah,
you,
I really would like to do that. I really would, as long as you're willing and it doesn't like make you, oh God, I'm telling it again, right? Okay. Okay, George. So,
that's one benefit. It's not even short-term memory. I tell the same stories over and over and over, and they're always brand new to me.
uh, okay, well, that's your perk. It's always fresh. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. Welcome to 22NU Podcast. I'm Anna Salas, your host and also the producer. And today we have a phenomenal guest whose story I think should be made into a full-length feature film. That's my idea for it. But let me introduce you to George Visger. Now, George got into the University of Colorado on a football scholarship, but at the same time, he was majoring in fisheries biology. And then he played in the 1977 Orange Bowl. And he was a 3-year starter at defensive tackle, selected in the 6th round in the 1980 draft, and played with the 49ers for 2 years. That's a major life accomplishment right there. Now, during the 1980 season, George sustained a concussion against the Cowboys. Yet somehow no one stopped him from playing the entire game by clearing his head with smelling salts. Now, let's just take a moment and imagine that you're George, and then early 1981 Super Bowl season, George developed water on the brain, technical term is hydrocephalus, and underwent 3 emergency VP shunt brain surgeries. Ventricle, right? They had to work on your ventricle.
Peripheral peritoneal.
Yeah, and in 8 months, and he was given last rites at age 23. Now, what I'm going to let you pick up with where you were at when you finally could stand up again, take a look around, and recognize where your life had dropped you off and where it was going to pick you up. You want to start there, George?
Absolutely. So the second and third brain surgeries, just 4 months after the Super Bowl, they were 10 hours apart. After my second one, I went back into a coma. Doctor
Ugh.
called my family, said someone should get down here. We're losing them. They did a third brain surgery, moved my shunt again. I have a shunt which goes in my brain. There's a pump back here, and there's a tube goes down to my abdomen. I'm draining spinal fluid as we speak. So after that third one, during which time I was given last rites, I have zero memory to this day for the next 16 to 18 months of my life. I was working construction with my older brother, and he said I showed up on the job after, I was in intensive care for 2 weeks. He said I show up the day after I go to the hospital. I've got 40 staples pounding in the back of my head. He said,
Mm,
"What are you doing?" I said, "I'm here to work." And this is
mm,
all secondhand. He goes, "You can't work." And I guess I was very explosive, and I would go off on people.
mhm.
Nobody knew that things weren't really functioning. And so it was almost 16, 18 months later. And my oldest brother, Bob, and he's 10 years older. He's my closest friend in the world. And we worked together. We hunted, we fished together. And it was like about a year and a half later, we're working on the job and we're jacking about, work and our next hunting trip coming up. And all of a sudden he looked at me, and I'm the fifth of 6 kids, and everybody had been married and everyone had kids. And I was the last one, right? Uh,
Mhm.
and so I was known as Uncle George to everybody. I had 9 nephews at the time. And so we're working, and all of a sudden, Bob, who I affectionately call Gomez because he looks like Gomez on the Addams family, right? And
Okay.
and we're framing, and all of a sudden he looks at me, he says, "Uncle George," and I go, "Yeah, Uncle George, what are you talking about?" He goes, "No," he goes, "This is the first time in a year and a half since your last surgery because I feel like I'm really talking to you."
Mm.
here's what I tell people: when you don't have any memory, you don't know. You don't have. I had no idea. I didn't remember a year and a half because it's just gone. So you don't know what's not there.
Mm,
And I said, "What are you talking about?" And he started going off things. He says, "Do you remember?" And my parents were my heroes, right? And
mm,
he said, "Do you remember last Thanksgiving at Mom's? You were dropping f bombs, and you had all three of our sisters crying." And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "You remember this and that?" And I'm like, "No." And he went
mm.
these things I had done over the last year and a half, totally out of character. And I'll never forget. I looked at him, and now we're in Sacramento at the time. That's where I was living, and we grew up in Stockton, about an hour away in Northern Cal. And so I'm looking. He's up on the roof, rafters framing above me. We're talking, and I just dropped my nail bag. She goes, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going down to Stockton and tell Big Rita I'm back." I called my mom Big Rita. She was like 5'2", little bitty, little tough as nails, little Lebanese gal, you know. I said, "I'm going down to tell Big Rita I'm back." She goes, "See you in the morning." I drive down there and I walked in the house. I said, "Hey, Big Rita," I said, "You know what? Gomez just told me what's been going on last year and a half." I said, "I have no idea. I'm sorry." She goes, "Oh, honey, I put it in God's hands. We knew it would work out." And that's the way I've lived.